channel. I'm so glad you're here with us today. I am sharing a Shark Week inspired card using the Happy Flappy stamp set, and I think it's just a perfect way to end Shark Week. What do you think? I start off the card by die cutting the stitch scallop border die twice onto ivory cardstock. And normally this could be used as a hillside, but this time we're going to use it as a sandy floor to the ocean. And I blend vintage photo distress oxide with itty bitty blender brushes, say that 3 times fast, to create the dimension. Later on in the card we'll add a little bit more color to it, but for now we're going to stick with just the layers of ink. I then decide to make a top folding easel card. So this is an 11 by 4 1/4 piece of cardstock, scored at 5 1/2, and then again at 2 3/4, creating all of the flaps for this top folding easel. I then take another 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of cardstock and I glue that to the bottom portion. I take an embossed navy blue panel and I glue that to the inside and to the outside of the card so that we have a continuous seam for this easel card. And I glue that down using Barely Art Glue, which is available in the shop and is linked in the description box below. So here you're going to see the scene start to come to place. Next, I use my cottontail embossing tool to put down a thin layer of kaolin clay, and then I use my Versamark ink to stamp the Hello Chum sentiment from Happy Flappy, so that that way nothing sticks to the area. I then heat that with my embossing tool heat gun, so that we get a nice crisp sentiment. That's what I like to do. At about a 1/2 inch, I cut that so that we have a nice sentiment strip, and I then pop that up onto foam tape so that we have a stopper for the easel. Now you can see that I am using the pieces from What the Krill, which is a sea life or supporting actor from the other stamp sets from Making Waves released in June. So you've got little fish, you've got crabs, you've got different coral, you've got sand dollars, and quite a few other little things in the stamp set. It's just really cute to build your scenes, and you're going to see this start to come together. Admittedly, I probably take more time than most to put scenes together, and that's just because I like to fiddle with the pieces. Now I mentioned that I'm adding more colors to the sandy bottom of the ocean, and I'm doing this with an E53 and a 5-1. On a Facebook group, I saw someone ask, how do you ground images? And normally if I want a gray cast shadow, I use a BV23. But I did say that's like your scene dictates it. Since we're using sand, the brown colors are going to work better. So I stipple in those shadows, which means I've got my marker standing straight up and down, making little dots, and I put in the E53, then a 5-1. To add further dimension, I then used broad strokes onto the side, bringing the color into the center. Now I am using this hammerhead from Happy Flappy, and I've decided to use non-traditional colors for my sharks because this is my fictional scene. This is what I think is fun. So you do whatever makes you happy as far as your colors and stuff. I just wanted a really bright, vibrant card. So I started with this B06 and I put that in the shadow areas of the shark, so where the fins kind of like overlap the top part of the body. And then I used B04 to extend those shadows. And you're going to notice that I feathered that in, and that was so that we got some texture on the shark. And I just go ahead and feather that in to about 2/3 of the way up, and then I use a B02. And that B02 is our mid-tone color, the color that we see the most of. And then I bring in the B00, and that is our highlight color. So that is just at the tip part of, like the tippy top of the shark. And again, these are my fictional fish, so I am going to do a yellow underbody. I chose to use the E23 as my shadow color, and this is a nice golden brown. And this just gives us a nice crispness to our yellows. This is good with pretty much any kind of yellow that you can think of. Now I did try to use kind of a small amount of this brown because, again, I want this to be a sunny yellow, not a golden or I don't know, like a sunset color yellow. You know what I'm saying? So then I bring in a Y08, which is my darkest yellow. And for this, I am going over that E23 and I'm pushing it back. And then I am extending out that shadow. So around the eyes and around both edges of the shark. So right and left of the shark. And you can always push back that E23 if you got too much of the brown in there. So just be aware that your lighter colors will push or bleach out your darker colors. My next color is the Y06, and that is our first midtone. So that is because we're using a 4-color blend, you have 2 midtones. So a midtone refers to the color that you see the most of. So I am bringing that in almost 2/3 into the center, and then I use a Y02. Off camera, I used a Y11 just to leave a little bit of a highlight in the center of the body to give it a rounded feel to it. Now let's talk about Shark Week. We all know that it can be bloody, so I went with a orange shark, but man, I came in as my scary dark with an R59, which is a very bloody looking color. But what that does is it pronounces the shadow. So once I have a little bit of that R59 in, I come in with the YR09 and I go over that R59, pushing it back, and then I extend it further into the shark. But that is going to be like really kind of our first midtone. And I make sure I go around the tip of the nose, like where the points of the fins are, so that we really kind of pronounce those delineations between the fins and all the places, as well as the gills. Next, I come in with a YR07, which is our lightest of the 2 midtones. And I go about, 2/3 of the way into the shark. And again, I am feathering that in because I want to give the shark some texture. So before I go in with our highlight color, I'm kind of slipping in a 5th color, and that's the Y08, which is our darkest yellow that we used. And that's because it's going to shine through nicely on the shark and through these oranges. So I'm really going into that, and you're going to see it looks really bright and kind of garish looking. Now I come in then with this Y004, and it's going to really push that back, and it's going to make for a nice golden yellow. This would be a great color for a goldfish, actually. So I'm kind of giving you a twofer here. So I'm giving you my fictional shark, and I'm giving you a goldfish, because I know in our coloring challenge last month in our coloring book we had a goldfish. So I wanted to make sure that you knew how to color the goldfish if you're keeping up with that. Now for the underbody part of the shark, I used the C1 off camera. Here I decided to pop up the sharks for dimension, and I think that they turned out really cute. Off camera, I decided that we needed a sentiment on the front of the card, so I used some VersaFine Clair to put in Seriously, which is from Happy Flappy. So I'm going to show you some final looks at this card. I think this was super fun. I think it was a great way to close out Shark Week. You're going to have to let me know. Again, everything is linked in the description box below if you have any questions. Have a good one. Bye-bye.